This is one hell of an episode, I suppose. Hey, friends. Welcome back to the My Body, My Jokes podcast. It's Morgan. And this is a bit of a maj podge of an episode because I'm not doing video recording today. Usually I video record on my cameras and I spend my Monday mornings like editing a bunch, and it used to be really fun, and to be honest, it's not anymore. Video editing is like so tough and so tedious, and because my cameras only record for 29 minutes at a time and then they cut out because they're not technically video cameras. It's a tax thing. It's annoying. So anyway, I'm recording right now with just audio only, which honestly feels a little bit more comfy. I'm not wearing a bra. I have my pajama pants on. I'm drinking my iced coffee, and I'm just not worrying about what my face looks like because I'm not recording video, and it feels very freeing, I'll be honest. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Like, I know I say that every week and it's probably annoying, and maybe you skip through this part, which I get because I do that on other podcasts, but genuinely, thank you so much if you listen to this because I'll be real, like not a ton of people do, I have this big following on social media, and I think some people assume that I get a lot of inquiries and I'm constantly bogged down by DMs and a million people listen to my podcast, but the reality is not a ton of people are super interested in listening to conversations about, eating disorder awareness and female issues and weight stigma and fat activism and, everything that goes into like the diet culture industry. And so it's not as popular of a podcast as I would honestly like it to be. But I'm also at the point where I understand as a creative that projects like these are done out of a passion for the subject matter and not necessarily for the, I guess, reward of listeners or the reward of followers and fame or whatever the fuck people get out of podcasting. So anyway, thank you genuinely from the bottom of my heart for listening to this or paying attention to it in any way. Like I always say, even getting a like or a comment or anything on any platform to me is a win. Because again, like when I drop the episode, it's not like thousands of people are tuning in. It's really like 14 people. And then over the course of the week, it gets up to like 150, maybe 200. And then over the course of a few months, depending on did one of the shorts on YouTube go viral? Did a TikTok clip from that episode go viral? And then it gets maybe like a few hundred more. But I'm not swimming in the views, y'all, which can sometimes be a little bit of an ego hit. I'll be real. But today, like I said, is a mishmash posh whatever the fuck episode because I'm at a bit of a crossroads. I have some updates for you all. I have some news and I have some life changes that are kind of happening. And so this episode is all about me. And we haven't really had an episode like that for a while because I've been interviewing some kick-ass guests and they've all been certainly wonderful. And I've had a lot of people come to my little home studio and get to interact with my cat. And it's been really cute and really fun and also a little stressful. If you are in the Denver area and you want to see me come do some things that are a little different than comedy, I have some shows for you. In June, I have some really cool shows going on. June 18th, I'm doing a narrators show where honestly, just like normal people and some comedians and some other performers get on stage and tell stories. And the theme of the stories on June 18th is bodies, which is very fitting for me and my subject matter. So I'm going to be doing jokes about my body, stories about my body. I'm actually really excited about it because it's an opportunity to like talk and not necessarily have to do stand up, although I'm sure I'll try to make people laugh because that's what I do is hide behind humor. June 21st, I'm actually opening a burlesque show with a 15-minute comedy set. So I'll be dressed in burlesque clothing, but I'll be doing comedy. So if you want to come see me looking sexy and doing jokes, June 21st, it's called Party Animals. It's put on by Vivalesque, which is a friend of mine. Shout out Vanessa. We both dance on Colfax Candy together, and she's very impressive. She does her own burlesque shows all over Colorado. I think they're about to do a Shrek one. But she does Vivalesque. It's a really fun burlesque kind of like variety show. So I'll be doing that June 21st. And then if you want to see me in a big, big, big burlesque show, I'm performing with Colfax Candy. That's Hard Candy Dance Studios company show, July 12th. It's called Cosmic Cabaret. And I am doing a bunch of dances in that. It's like an alien space themed show, and so we have really cool costumes, really cool makeup. All of the dances are based on like, a kind of cosmic space themed song. And that's going to be really exciting. I've been rehearsing for that every Sunday for a few months now. So that's like kind of the big show I'm doing. I might be performing at Pride. I'm not totally sure. I just had a really big audition yesterday for International Dance Crew, and the bruises on my knees fucking prove it, and I'm so sore, and low-key I think I got a little sick. But I have a lot of dance stuff coming up, and like some comedy things maybe, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I just have a few updates, and this won't be a super long episode, so if you're already bored, don't worry, it'll be over soon. My recovery is very up and down at the moment. I went through a really big breakup a few months ago, and almost immediately kind of slipped back into some old patterns. And it was really difficult because I was confused about why I was relying on old patterns when I didn't necessarily feel how I thought I should feel after a breakup. And so I was like really relying on old eating disorder patterns and behaviors to kind of get me through like the month after that breakup. And then things have been good for like the past month after that. More recently, I've really struggled. I think what I'm realizing is that I've had a lot of like ups and downs in my recovery, which is very normal. Like sometimes you have like a 6-month period where you're like, holy shit, this is like so easy. I'm eating so normally. I'm moving. I'm having good relationships with like food and my body, and I'm talking kindly to myself and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like last summer, that was like a really big time for me where I felt so confident in my recovery. And then I hit like a year in and I felt really confident. And then like shit started happening and I started going through my Saturn return. And I literally within the span of like, 4 months, I bought a house, moved into that house, had my significant other move in with me. I've never lived with a significant other before that. So that's a big change. I started like kind of moving away from doing comedy and pushing more into dance. And so that was a big change, like getting back into my body, getting into a space mentally where I'm like, okay, my body is also a thing that I perform with now. Now it's like a thing I choose to use for expression. Like I'm dancing in heels now. I then went through a breakup with said significant other, which was a big deal because we were, living in this house together. And then I had a seizure while I was doing self-tape auditions one night because of the medication I was on for ADHD. So then I had to deal with having a seizure and getting off that medication. And now I'm on new ADHD meds. And that's been kind of like a fucking whirlwind. And I have to do all these tests on my brain now and make sure that I don't have a tumor or whatever. And, then on top of that, it's like, I'm dealing with being a new homeowner and figuring out like my money situation and like, what am I doing with my podcast? Where is my podcast going? Okay, now I'm going to have a home studio. Now I'm going to create this whole home studio. Now I have dance commitments that are a lot different than like comedy commitments. Oh, now I'm back in acting classes and like I'm exploring my queerness and I'm no longer identifying as like, a bi girl. Like, I think I'm pansexual. And so so many things have happened in the past 4 months that have been really life altering, that I think now I'm kind of in the dust is settling phase, where it still feels like some things are very much up in the air while some have settled a little bit more. I feel a lot better about my relationship status. I My ex and I are on really good terms, and I am really hoping it stays that way because I care a lot about them, and I care a lot about like who they are and what they do, especially in the Denver comedy scene. Um and like, the house is a fucking house. It's a pain in the ass. My AC keeps going out. I have to keep paying all this money for people to come tell me the same thing. And you know what's something about being a homeowner that I did not anticipate that pisses me off? This is so niche. But why are so many fucking people knocking on my door? Don't come up to my door. That's not what it's for. I don't need, there's so many people selling shit. Like, I never I never anticipated that so many people would be knocking on my door selling solar panels or pest removal treatment things, or hanging shit on my doorknob for new window replacements and whatever. And I get it. Like, they have businesses, they have to make customers somehow. But it's just so odd to me. I'm like, who the fuck knocks on doors anymore? What are we doing? Anyway, um, so my recovery has been a little bit like tough, I think, because what's happened is, like, when I go through these big changes, because everything feels so new and so scary, it's easy for me to go back into old patterns of coping, even if they're unhealthy, because they're familiar and because they make me feel safe. And even if I know that, smoking weed and binge eating or restricting or over exercising, or whatever whatever behavior I decide to choose, like, even though I know they are not healthy and they are ultimately not going to make me feel good, they're actually going to make me feel worse. In the moment, it feels so good to participate in that behavior because it's familiar and because it's easy. um and so part of the difficulty with recovery is also talking about it. Like, I started this podcast last year because I felt like I didn't want to just keep hiding behind humor online anymore. Like, I was just a comedian and that was all I was doing. And I wasn't really talking about like my personal life. No one really knew anything about me. Like, not that I needed to be more personable, but I just felt like if I'm going to have a platform, I might as well use it for good. And so I started talking about my eating disorder recovery and what that means. And I was in such a good place with it that it felt so much easier to talk about. But when I struggle, like, it's embarrassing. Like, it's embarrassing to have to be like, yep, today I, binge ate and I feel bad about it, or whatever it is. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, I'm 29 years old and I am very open and honest about my disorder, and I try to be as honest about it as possible, but at the end of the day, like, it still feels a little embarrassing. It still feels a little like, ooh, I don't really want, like, the people I dance with or the people I do comedy with, like, to necessarily know that I'm struggling right now. I'm a lot better at talking about it in the past tense. But I am struggling right now, and it sucks, but I also have to, like, utilize my support system. I have to reach out to my therapist. I have to be better about being, like, more proactive when I feel an urge coming on to just, like, reach out to someone and not just let myself go through with it because it's easier to do that. Um and so I've been going back and forth a lot with how I talk about my recovery and what I really talk about, because at the end of the day, the reason why I started the podcast was because I felt like every time I looked up an account or a person who was talking about eating disorder recovery, I felt like they were kind of talking about it in the past tense. And they were always like, when I was in my recovery thralls or whatever, like, they were always talking about it as if they had already gone through it and they were okay now. And it used to kind of annoy me because I felt like, well, I'm in recovery right now. Like, what do I do right now? Like, it's easier to talk about the next day, of course, because it's embarrassing and it's very personal. But I felt like, well, why isn't anyone going on Instagram Live and is like, I am in the middle of a behavior right now. I need to talk about it right now. And obviously, I figured out the reason why people aren't doing that because it's hard and it's embarrassing. Um, so now looking back on like everything I've done with the podcast, I question whether or not I'm really helping anyone. I question whether or not like is bringing on these guests doing what I want it to do? Like is talking who the fuck is calling me? Oh, some random Denver number. I always get these random spam calls. I question like is what I'm doing helpful and is for number one helpful for the people listening, for you guys, and number two is it helpful for me because sometimes I don't know if it is or not. Sometimes I find myself stressing a lot more about the podcast than I do like being excited about it. Like I think about, oh fuck, I'm recording this day, like I have to do my makeup that morning. I have to charge all the batteries for all the cameras the night before. I have to make sure that I have an outline going on. Okay, so if I record it this day, that means that I have to edit this day. And so what am I going to do? How am I going to fit that into my schedule? And then like on the actual podcast, I don't feel present because I have these fucking cameras that only record 29 minutes at a time. So the whole time I'm like talking with someone, I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, okay, what's the timer at? Like, do I have enough time to bring up this next question? Like, they're talking a lot. How do I bring in this next? And so I've been overthinking it and I can't tell if it's worth it anymore, you know? And I hate saying that because I know that there are probably, or I'm hoping there are people listening who are like, oh, wow, maybe this podcast helps you a lot, or maybe it's particularly fun to listen. I don't know. And you're like, oh, no, I don't want you to end it. Because I know that I hate when I'm listening to something and someone like ends it. Or I used to listen to this like Zodiac podcast that used to put out like a Scorpio horoscope every single morning. And then it stopped. And I was so bummed because like, it was my one thing in the morning I got to listen to for like a few minutes and I was bummed that they stopped. But anyway, I don't know. I think I just feel like my life is headed in this direction where I'm focusing a lot more on like performing and auditioning and putting myself out there because I'm going to turn 30 this year and I'm afraid that if I don't really start going for my goals now, it's just never going to happen. And I'd question like, is this podcast really just a resume builder for me at this point? Or is it actually helping? Is it doing something? Because I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I do not want to clip videos and spend my life putting clips on TikTok and on Reels. I did that for 4 years. Like I used to do that for my work. Like I used to be a social media manager. And then when I started comedy, I started doing it for myself. So I have spent literal years staring at fucking Premiere Pro, captioning stuff, editing it for a vertical platform, posting it, figuring out the hashtags, figuring out the algorithm, putting a sound to it, not putting a sound to it, tagging a location, figuring out what location to tag. And it's exhausting. Like, I don't want to spend my life being a social media manager for myself, even though I do really want my message to get out there. So it feels really like silly for me to even complain about something like that, you know? Like I'm so lucky that I even have the opportunity to like talk to people and to have a platform, but at the end of the day, like because I built my platform off of comedy, it's just not really working anymore. You know, I post about my eating disorder stuff, I post about the pod, and I feel like my followers who are mostly men are like, "Cool, next," you know? Um not to say that there aren't people that like aren't supporting me. I mean, there are plenty of amazing people like on Instagram or TikTok that comment and I really appreciate that. I don't know, I guess I just feel a little silly sometimes. So that brings me to my next point, which is my comedy update. And this one may not be that important for people who listen to this. But I've been a stand-up comedian since 2020, since the pandemic started, because I did comedy in Florida, and the pandemic in Florida was like 30 days long. But I spent a really good chunk of time dedicating like my entire life to comedy. And what I mean by that is like I am someone who when I find a new thing, like I fucking go all in. And that's kind of what I'm doing with dance right now. But when I was doing it with comedy, it was like every day I was listening to comedy podcasts. I was reading comedy books like the Comedy Bible, or other books written by stand up comedians like How to Kill in Comedy, you know what I mean? And then even when I was at work, I was spending time writing jokes. In my office, I was doing a Write 10 club where we had 10 minutes to write a joke off of a randomly generated word. Um, I was going to comedy shows that I wasn't even booked on because I just wanted to watch and like understand and study. And I was spending so much time at open mics every single night, just going to as many as I could, asking older comedians like what their advice was, going out of town, taking time off work just to do comedy, saving up my sick time, ignoring my friends. Like I I fully like fell into the rabbit hole of comedy and am just now digging myself out. Um and I say it like that because I also ignored a lot of like bad shit that was happening. I also ignored a lot of warning signs that were coming from other people about like me getting to a place of burning out, misogynistic behavior that I was ignoring because I felt like it didn't have anything to do with me. Um just like bullshit that was going on in the comedy scenes that I was like, "Oh, that doesn't have anything to do with me. Like I don't have to stand up or say anything because like it's not my problem." Um and I think the last year has taught me that like comedy isn't everything. Like if I don't have a manager anymore, if I don't like have the desire to go out for festivals, if I don't want to submit to some fucking online comedy competition, you know what I mean? Like it's okay. Like no one's going to be like what the fuck are you doing, Morgan? I think I just pushed myself so hard when I first started doing it that a lot of people started to expect the greatest out of me, which is very cool and amazing. And at the same time, puts a lot of pressure on me. Because for those of you who don't know, like, I went on a really big tour in 2023. I was opening for Morgan J, who is now like way fucking famous, which is funny because when we were on that tour, we were opening for like no one in like Spokane, Washington and like Oklahoma City, and now he's fucking, selling out the Paramount twice. But um that was a really cool show that we did. But he like I did that, and then like I got a manager, and then the manager started like kind of parading me around to people. Like I went to LA and I auditioned for Netflix as a joke, and I had a JFL audition right before they went bankrupt, and I was set up to like really start fucking doing the industry. And I very quickly realized like, oh, I actually fucking hate this. This is not fun at all. What am I doing? And I kind of just like said to my manager, he asked me very truthfully one day, like, what are your goals? And I was honest with him, and I was like, my goals are like to write a book about my eating disorder recovery. My goals are like to talk about like women's issues and like make more jokes about women's issues and like not do this kind of weird I'm going to joke about men on stage and be the female comedian that jokes about men on stage because it's easy shit. And like I don't know, I told him like I wanted to like make a difference in the world, and he basically was like, okay, well, I don't think it makes sense for us to be business partners anymore, which good on him because I think he was looking for me to say like my goals are to be on Fallon. My goals are to be on, like Seth Meyer. Like I want to do a late night spot. I want to get on JFL. I want to get on Netflix. Like those were the correct answers for a manager. My answers were more whimsical and like I want everyone to be happy. And so he was like, "Okay, obviously this is not like what I'm going to do." And he left it on great terms. He said to me, if you ever have questions about an audition, if you ever want to put something in my face and ask me what you think of it, like I'll do it. He was like very like anytime you want to send me something, send it to me. Um but after that, I just was like, "Oh, I don't think this is like for me. Like I don't think I need to chase this arbitrary goal that just keeps moving every year of like if I'm going to be a comedian, I have to also be a TikTok star. I have to also be a content creator. I have to also like have a podcast and a sketch show and do man on the street videos and submit packets for late night and try to get on late night and try to be in a writer's room." Like I didn't want to do any of that. I just loved being on stage. And so I started dancing again. I started going to class. I started hearing about like the dance crews and the dance companies in the area and learning about like, oh, okay, so these people dance here, they get paid to do it. Oh, there's auditions for this. And then as soon as like this year came around and I was living in my new house, which is a lot closer to the dance studio than I originally was, I just was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to start auditioning and see what happens. And everything has turned out really great. So I'm not really looking for bookings anymore. People reach out to me for bookings and they'll be like, hey, we're doing this like, female comedy show and wherever the fuck. And it's really fun and it's really kitschy and niche. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds fun. But then I remember like, oh, I'm just going to do the same jokes I've been doing for the past year. And I realize like, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. So I'm not really booking comedy shows anymore. I guess that whole whirlwind was really just to tell you that I'm not really booking comedy shows anymore. But I do like doing them if it's a very specific thing. Like I'm excited to open up this burlesque show with some comedy because I feel like that fits in very much with what I'm doing now. Doing like a narrator, like at the narrator show, that'll be really fun. Like I'm not gonna say no to comedy stuff, but I also am not like actively trying to go out there and do more of it because it just doesn't feel fun right now. And I'm talented in so many other areas, so why not chase those? Um, so I'll wrap this up because I feel like at this point I'm rambling, but I really just wanted to get an episode out there this week because I'm thinking of taking a break from the podcast. And some days that feels really sad and scary, and other days it feels really relieving. So I still can't really tell how I feel about it. Um, I think my ideal scenario would be like if I could do the podcast but like not have to edit it and not have to like put it out online, that would be amazing. But I also am not really in a position right now to be like paying someone to like film it, edit it, produce it, put it online, put out the clips. You know what I mean? Like I don't really have the funds right now to be doing that. Even though that would be like ideal, right? Like I wish I could just be like one of these TikTok influencers that as soon as they get enough followers, they start a fucking podcast and then it's like they immediately have a team that's dedicated to like clipping it out and putting it out and scheduling it on YouTube Shorts and TikTok and Reels and like hashtagging and interacting with the comments and stuff. Like I don't have like I have time to be doing that. So I could be doing that, but that's the issue is that I don't want to do it. And it's like, should I force myself to do it just because I have time to do it, even if it doesn't make me happy, when the whole point of the podcast is about like mental health? So this is episode 40. This is the 40th episode I've done of My Body, My Jokes. And I think it is probably going to be like the ending of season 1. I don't anticipate stepping away from this podcast forever. I think that would be really sad. Like I don't anticipate myself doing that. But I do see myself at least like maybe taking a break for the summer, recalibrating, figuring out like, okay, if I do this podcast, what realistically can I do? What can I commit myself to? Who do I really want to be talking to? Because or not who do I want to be talking to, but like what I want to be talking about, because sometimes I don't know if like my topics are too niche. Like, am I talking about something that's way too specific to like my experience? Should I bring in maybe more people who have like different experience than I do? And I don't know. I really don't know, man. But I just wanted to come on here and like say my truth because I think part of my, I don't know, I hate the word brand. Part of my like outlook on social media has been like being honest and being like, look, comedians can have problems, or like comedians can also become other people. Like I can also be a comedian and a dancer and an actor and someone that's recovering, and I can also post different things. And um I've struggled a lot with my identity as a performer because I feel like I was really put into a box for a few years, and now I'm breaking out of that box, and sometimes it feels really scary and it feels really raw, and I don't know how it's going to be taken. So thank you for listening. If you've gotten this far into the episode, I genuinely thank you. I think there are so many fucking podcasts out there now that like sometimes I don't know if it's even makes sense for me to have one because who the fuck am I? But I'm happy that you're here, and I'm happy that I'm here lounging in my little studio area with my pink mic cap on. Because I took time putting these shelves up. I took time decorating this little space and painting this wall. And I think I'm going to paint the rest of the wall over this summer. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Comedy's kind of meh. Recovery's kind of meh. The podcast is kind of meh. But she's auditioning. She's going out for roles. She's taking classes again. She's trying to get an agent. She's trying to do all the things. And who knows? Maybe in a few months I start the pod back up and I'm like, guess what, guys? I'm in the new Marvel movie. Who fucking knows, man? Who knows? But anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. If you are someone that really likes this podcast and is bummed out that it's going away for a little bit, send me a message. Let me know, because that'll give me more motivation to start it back up again. If you need help, please don't forget that there are resources online for literally everything. If you're also struggling with an eating disorder, please feel free to reach out to me. I might be struggling, but that doesn't mean that I can't also help you and point you in the right direction. And if you're in Denver, let's hang out. It's going to be a gay-ass summer. It's Pride Month. We're fucking stocking up on the Pride merch, except for the places that don't actually support gay people. And we're gardening and we're being gay and we're, I don't know, sipping espresso martinis. So have a wonderful week, a wonderful day, and don't forget to love yourself even when it's hard. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to My Body, My Jokes. Please be advised that the information provided in this podcast is for general discussion purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Always, always, always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare professional with any concerns you might have regarding the topics discussed in today's episode. Also, if you or someone you know is struggling with an eating disorder, please call the National Eating Disorders Association helpline at 1-800-931-2237. Bye.